Ladies and gentlemen, I recently just finished watching The Studio on Apple TV, and I know most of you probably have never seen The Studio, or most of you aren't even watching this video, let's be real. But for those of you who are, and for those of you who have seen the show, I want to talk about it because I've noticed no one's talking about it online, and I think it is a great idea for a show. And this season in general was a very, very interesting season of TV, one that is worth discussing. So, one, I have to say I'm very glad that Apple TV, they already renewed it for a season 2, because I think the premise is just so strong. And honestly, the concept alone is arguably one of my favorite concepts out of an original show or even comedy show as of late. I think the premise really is that strong, but that doesn't necessarily mean that its execution held up to that every single time. I certainly don't think it was bad by any means. I don't think there was many episodes that were bad, but there was a couple moments in there that I just didn't think lived up to the potential that the show could be, and it has me excited for a season 2. I think feedback's important. I think they're probably going to be considering feedback, blah, 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 all of that stuff, so it's worth talking about. But The Studio, for those of you who don't know, is about a movie studio in Hollywood, obviously, who is obviously in this period of time where there's major tech companies buying out networks and things like that. And right now, obviously, things going on in Hollywood that people don't like, such as them going too woke and things like that. And that plays a big premise into what the show is. So like what I mentioned, it's about a studio that is in Hollywood that is trying to do better. They had 10 flops prior to them firing their previous studio head, who was named Patty, and being replaced by Matt, who is our main character of sorts. So that's where the story picks up. We see Patty getting fired by Bryan Cranston's character, whose name I'm forgetting off the top of my head, and replaced with Matty, who is a huge movie buff, but he's very, very, very egotistical. And it's a sitcom that's supposed to follow him doing things in the movie business, whether it is finding people to actually write a movie about the Kool-Aid Man, or whether it's about them finding the actors to play in the Kool-Aid Man without coming across as racist, or things like that, or trying to deviate away from too much wokeness and things like that. The premise is phenomenal, because I feel like in general, the concept of following a movie studio, especially navigating these times where we've seen major movie franchises like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Disney flops like Snow White as of late, in real life we've seen that, but we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, so it's really interesting to watch studio executives go through the motions of 2025 Hollywood together, but still want to make really good movies, really good money, and have a good time, but live in this old Hollywood, LA sort of mindset that doesn't really hold up when you live now in influencer culture and things like that. And I think that premise alone is just really good. I think one of the highlights about the show in particular is the fact that they kind of do it where you could watch any episode. It's like a regular sitcom. You could watch any episode and not feel like you're missing so much. In that way, it's like it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia or Curb Your Enthusiasm or Seinfeld, things like that. But there are things that you follow along the way. So like from the very beginning, we know Patty is ousted for Matt, and then things like that, and them making the Kool-Aid movie and signing those deals, it all comes together by the end. So throughout the episodes, you're watching developments in the Kool-Aid Man movie, you're watching them go to an early screener of another movie, which I'm forgetting the name of that one in the show, and things like that, and you're seeing that all play out. And it's just really fun to watch, because you're kind of watching like degenerate people go through the movie business, which to the surface level, to the regular viewer, seems just so prestigious and fun, but it's a shit show behind the scenes. And I think really the best highlight, the best example of this was the two-part finale, those two episodes, so episode 9 and 10. First off, episode 9, I've never seen a more realistic but also hilarious depiction of people going absolutely nuts on some drugs out there. It was so funny to watch, and it it just felt so realistic to see like Zoe Kravitz eating way too many mushrooms and going absolutely nuts was so funny. Like so funny. And Dave Franco freaking the fuck out the whole time in that episode was just so great. It was one of the only episodes of TV, and I swear to God, I am not kidding about this. It was one of the only episodes of TV where I was actually like cracking up watching it, because it just got funnier as it went and felt honestly pretty realistic. Obviously, I've never been to a Hollywood old school party with like the drug buffets or anything like that, but just in general, like the way people party felt very realistic, and it was honestly hilarious. I don't know how else to put it. It was just really great. That was easily the best episode, one of my all-time favorite episodes of comedy now, one that I'm going to go back to frequently. And then episode 10 follows in that suit as well. It's just as funny. And it's really great to see Bryan Cranston's character be one of the funniest characters in the show and not feel like, oh, that's Bryan Cranston. Like, you actually just feel like it's this character. Bryan Cranston's such a great actor, and it's great to have him in this. I'm obviously so used to him being Walter White, so it's interesting to see him in a truly hilarious role. I know he played the father in Malcolm in the Middle, and that was a funny role, but this was just like batshit crazy, like him falling into the water in the Vegas hotel. I don't remember the name of that hotel. I've been there, and I was recently there, so like where he fell in, I was like right by it, and I was like, whoa, this is weird. I was like, just here, whatever. That scene was just so hilarious. And in general, those two episodes were so good. I think where it fell a little flat were like the noir episode they did, which was supposed to be them thinking that Zac Efron did some shady business or something like that, and where he didn't get invited to the party, where Matt didn't get invited to the party. There was a couple episodes like that I just didn't really enjoy. It felt like a little too out of place for the premise that I was excited for. Like the whole noir thing where Maddie was a detective and stuff like that, just I didn't think played really well. I thought it was a very boring episode. And then there was a couple others in there. These 10 episodes went so quick for me that it's hard to figure out which ones are which now at this point. But the ones that stand out, obviously, are episodes 9, 10, the one where Matt really wants Zoe Kravitz to give him a shout out at the Oscars or whichever it was, the Emmys. I don't remember which one it was. That was hilarious. And to see that's kind of realistic to how real world executives are, that's pretty funny and stuff like that. So those were some good ones. The first episode was a really good one, but then the rest, I feel like just did not do well with the potential. They were either really boring or entertaining, but like nothing super crazy. So the highs were really high, but the lows were pretty strong. And I feel like for season 2, if they iron out those lows and realize what really worked from season 1 and what kind of really didn't work from season 2, this show could be a big hit for Apple TV. Because right now, this is my second favorite Apple TV Plus show by far. And this was one of the only shows, especially in its genre, where I was genuinely excited for every Wednesday to come, because I couldn't wait for a new episode to come out, especially 9 and 10. They were phenomenal. But I think that's a great thing. I think it has a lot of potential, and I hope we get more of that potential fulfilled in the next season, and hopefully more seasons to come. If you haven't seen it and you made it all the way through this video, that's kind of weird, but go check it out because it is worth it. I've heard some people say it sucked. I've heard some people say it was excellent. I don't know if I'd say it was excellent, but the premise, I think, is excellent. The execution was okay, if that makes any sense. There was a couple big hits, but a couple big stinkers in there too. So yeah, I'm excited for more of it, for sure. I can't wait to see the rest of it. And if you've seen it, let me know down in the comments what you thought about it. Would love to hear what you have to say. And with all that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.